Hello everyone, it's Tanja here. Tanja from Tanja Kraus Horsemanship joining you for Wednesday Night Live, and hopefully it is working and Facebook is sending it out into the Facebook world to let you all know that I have tuned in. We did just have a little bit of a glitch or something went wrong and it was all frozen, so I'm hoping that it's going to be working now. So if you're able to log on and if you can hear me and if I'm actually moving because it froze the screen before, if you can just go ahead and hit one of the little icons, the smiley face or the love button or the like button or whatever, whichever one you want, just because they're the ones that float over the screen. So they're the ones that I can definitely see and know that you're watching. So there's one. I can see that people are starting to log on, so thank you so much for joining me tonight for Wednesday Night Live. Tonight's topic is one that I get asked about all the time, and we've done different versions of it over the course of Wednesday Night Lives, but what I'm going to run through tonight is basically our my top 10 tips for conquering fears. So this is a bit of a broad spectrum topic tonight, because obviously different people are going to have fears about different things, and so it's not necessarily building confidence in the rider. It might be a fear of a specific thing. So I don't know, maybe you've got a fear of riding a young horse for the first time, or maybe you've got a fear of competing, or maybe you've got a fear of maybe you've had an accident and you are got a fear of getting back on your horse or going on the trail or going to the beach, or lots of different things. So there could be lots of different things that when we talk about fear. And so some of these tips are going to apply to your personal situation. Hopefully all of them are going to help you in some way, and I will try and elaborate or really give them to you in a general way, not a specific way, so you can hopefully apply it to your situation. So that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. I can see all the hellos and everyone saying hello, so please do comment. I do appreciate it, and I definitely read them all at the end of the live. So I really appreciate you joining me. And so the first thing that I think is necessary to do when we're talking about conquering our fears is firstly exploring it a little bit. So I'm a writer, so I like to get out I actually like to get out big pieces of paper and lots of colored markers and write things out and dot point and chart things and do all sorts of things like that. So whatever your method is, maybe you want to sit down at the computer, maybe you want to write down notes, maybe you want to take notes on your phone. I would recommend writing it or typing it or getting it out of you in some way. I know that we all probably think, it goes around and around and around my head when it comes to a fear, and we might not necessarily feel like we need to write it down. But what I want to do is write it down and then explore it a little bit further than that. So I'm afraid of getting on my horse or going to the trail or whatever it is, and I think we need to go deeper on that, and we have to try and figure out what it is that we're actually afraid of. So I'm afraid of getting on my horse. Well, why are you afraid of getting on your horse? Are you afraid of falling off your horse? Are you afraid of the horse taking off? Are you afraid of hurting the horse in some way? Are you afraid that you look silly on the horse? What is it specifically that you're actually afraid of? I'm afraid of going out on the trail. Well, are you afraid of getting lost? Are you afraid that your horse is going to take off? Are you afraid that he's going to misbehave? Are you afraid that you're going to let people down? That's the same questions you can apply to the competition thing. Whatever your fear is, write what the fear is and then go a little bit deeper. What is it that actually scares you? So, for example, falling off the horse. And then why does that scare you? So let's go a little bit deeper again. And, are you afraid of the pain? Are you afraid of hurting yourself? Are you afraid of permanent injury? Do you have an injury already that you're worried that will make it worse? Are you worried about getting injured and having to take time off work or away from family and things like that? So if you can kind of nut that all out, The next thing that we need to ask ourselves is it real? So still within our little exploratory thing. So is my fear real? And I know the answer to that question is yes, because you're experiencing a fear and you're having a physiological response in your body. Your brain's telling you, your body, you might get goosebumps, or you might feel butterflies, or you might feel sick or anxious, or you might get a dry mouth, or any of these things might happen when you think about doing the thing that you're afraid of. And what I mean by the question, is it real? What I mean by that is, I guess, have you had an experience that justifies the fear? And I'm not saying that your fear is not justified if you haven't had an experience, so please don't take that the wrong way. But what I mean is, do you have an accident that you need to overcome? Do you have an experience or a trauma that you need to overcome? Do you have a fear that has just come from, I meet a lot of people that have perhaps taken time away from horses. They've come back to horses after having a family. And I meet a lot of people that say, I don't even know why, but I'm afraid now because that, instinct has kicked in. I've got responsibilities. I've got little people to look after. And so, when you go deeper in that fear, they've got no actual trauma to overcome, but they've got a new set of responsibilities in life. And so they need to, justify that or balance that in their own mind about going out riding or something like that. So that's what I mean by that question, is it real? Once you've got it all out on paper, I think that helps us to sort of read that back and really nut out the individual aspects of it. And I think once it's out on paper, we can start to understand our fear a little bit better. And that is the first step, I guess, in overcoming our fear, is understanding it. Okay, so going a little bit deeper and understand where it's coming from. So the second tip that I have, and again, it may or may not apply to you, if you've got a fear of competitions, for example, this probably won't apply to you. And what it is spending time on a schoolmaster horse. So for those of you that are worried about, just riding in general, so you've got a fear of riding your own horse, maybe you've had an accident off your own horse, maybe you're worried about cantering your horse, maybe you're worried about going out on the trail, see if you can find a good, trustworthy schoolmaster, maybe at a local riding school, maybe there's a local instructor that might have a schoolmaster, maybe you've got a trusted friend who does have a genuine schoolmaster, not just old Joe down the paddock who's never done anything in his life before, although we had a horse called Joe and he's amazing. So, a genuine schoolmaster horse that is going to look after you and perhaps can take you into that experience that you're wanting to achieve as a first step into doing it before you do it with your own horse. Oftentimes our own horse is the unknown quantity. So a lot of us are fearful of perhaps cantering on our horse because we've never cantered on our horse previously. Oftentimes we're scared of going on a trail ride because we haven't been on a trail ride on our horse. But the longer you haven't been on a trail ride for, so some of you might be listening and going, well, what's the point of going on a schoolmaster because I'm afraid of going on my own horse? But if you haven't been out on a trail for 5 years, then the experience, the positive experience of a trail ride isn't fresh in your mind. So it's still worth going on a trail on a schoolmaster to get the experience fresh in your mind, so then you can take that experience onto your horse's back, so you don't have to be so nervous on your own horse and giving those nervous vibes to your own horse and giving him something to be worried about, for example. Pardon me. So, spending time on a schoolmaster is absolutely highly recommended. Number 3 is choosing the area that you would like to ride in very, very carefully, and choose the area that makes you feel the safest. So what I mean by that is maybe going into a round pen, maybe going into an enclosed arena if you've only got a big paddock that you normally ride in. Maybe out on the trail you feel safe, maybe on the beach you feel safe. Everybody's different and everybody is going to know in their mind where they are going to feel safest about riding their horse or having this experience. So choose the area that will make you feel safe. If you've got a confidence issue, if you've got an issue concerning, obviously, you know, competition or something like that, then go and ride in competition arenas as often as you can. So maybe you train pretty often in your backyard, but there's an arena down the road that you can go ahead and take your horse to and practice riding in a competition arena when there's no competition going on, to get your feet wet, you know, get familiar with that arena and start using your imagination about what it's going to feel like when the competition is in place. So choose the area that is going to support your fear, support you conquering your fear, not support your fear, obviously. So depending on what your individual circumstances are, that area is going to change considerably. Number 4 is choosing the equipment that makes you feel safe. And what I mean by that is, you know, and we don't need to have a whole massive million comments about helmets and things like that. But what I mean by that is, you know, some circles of riding it isn't common to wear a helmet, maybe in Western events and things like that. Maybe you feel better when you're riding a helmet, but you feel like when you're riding with your friends or when you're at that competition or something like that, you feel like you should have your Western hat on or different attire on. So definitely choosing a helmet if it makes you feel safer, choosing a safety vest if that makes you feel safer. And then we're talking about the equipment on the horse. So if you feel safer riding in a fender saddle, then ride in a fender saddle. If you feel safer riding in a Western, ride in a Western. If you feel safer riding with, I know for me personally that my piece of safety equipment that my go-to piece of safety equipment is always my safety stirrups. So my escape safety stirrups, because I know that if I did come off the horse that they're going to break away and I'm not going to get caught up, because that's one of my fears, is being caught up and dragged by a horse. So I always have my safety stirrups on my fender saddle when I'm starting colts or something like that. You know, choosing to ride, maybe you have recently, or maybe you've been riding in a halter, or maybe you've been riding in a hackamore or bitless, so to speak, and maybe you actually feel quite uncomfortable with that, but you're in a circle of people, or you're in a situation where it's encouraged that you ride bitless, and so maybe you don't want to ride with a bit, or maybe you've got a mindset on bits where you think that they're cruel, so you're out there riding in a halter because you think that the bit's cruel, but it actually really scares you to ride in a halter because maybe you haven't been taught properly, or maybe you have never ridden in one before, or you haven't got a lot of experience, or maybe you've had a bad experience, or something. So choose the equipment that makes you feel as safe as possible, and that could be varying ranges of equipment. Number 5 is getting a coach or an instructor, or go to clinics or whatever it is that is going to support you in this. Okay, so I'm sure we've all got a lot of experiences where unfortunately we may have had a negative experience with a coach or a clinician or someone that just pushes us into it and says, oh, get over it, just get on the horse, you'll be right, etc., etc., which really isn't that helpful when you're trying to overcome fears. So choose an instructor or a coach that is going to support you, even if you just want to sit on the sidelines for the day. You're not going to get that excessive pressure. So I definitely want a coach that is going to encourage me, but I don't want a coach that's going to pressure me or make me feel stupid or anything like that. So get a good instructor or coach that is going to help you feel empowered and overcome your fears. Following on from that, number 6 is choosing our friends carefully. And if you want to keep hanging around with friends that don't necessarily understand your predicament or don't understand why you're fearful and have a lot to say about it, it's time to have a conversation with them where you say to them, I really like hanging out with you, but if you can't say anything constructive or encouraging, then don't say anything at all. So really set those boundaries and empower yourself in terms of managing who you're hanging around. And again, it's about choosing friends that are going to support you, that are going to be there help you through situations when you're sort of standing there going, I don't want to get on my horse, or I'm about to ride into the show pen and I'm freaking out. Instead of having someone just saying, oh, get over it, you'll be right, you need to have someone that's going to listen, that's going to support you, and that's going to encourage you in a positive way to try and get you through that fear situation, and help you get to the other side of it with a positive outcome. So choose your friends carefully. Or the people that you hang around, your groups, your riding buddies, anything like that. Number 7 is getting professional help, or maybe considering the idea of getting professional help. So what I mean by professional help is not the instructor or anything anymore, but someone who is a professional in helping you talk through fears. So a counselor, psychologist, any of those kind of people that can actually sit down there with an open mind, with knowledge behind them, that can help you talk through what you're experiencing. And I'm really passionate about people seeking professional help if they think that it will help, because a lot of times within the horse circle industry particularly, when you've had an accident, or when you've had a bad experience, or even when you've got a real anxiety, a genuine anxiety about something, or a genuine fear about something, we don't really consider professional help. Although if we are involved in perhaps a car accident or another traumatic event, it's pretty common for a doctor to say, oh, you should really get some counselling and speak to someone to help you move past this event. So I really don't see the difference between having a car accident or having a horse accident, or even just having anxiety about, particular things that could or could not happen. So seeking professional help is right there on the list at number 7. And, you can definitely find people in your local area and services in your local area that would, that offer that unbiased opinion. When you try and talk to your friends or get help from loved ones, sometimes you run into really biased opinions, and they might not want you to get back on the horse because you have had an accident previously. So they might be sitting there trying to discourage you from getting back on the horse, whereas a professional is going to have an unbiased opinion, and they're just going to listen to where you're coming from and what you're hoping to achieve. So number 8 on the list of overcoming or conquering your fears is getting rid of any time pressures, or any pressures that you have put on yourself in terms of what it is that you're experiencing. So time pressures might be, if you've entered an event and you feel like you're not ready for the event, or you feel like your horse isn't ready for the event, and you're out there every day forcing yourself to do certain things to get ready for a particular timeline, and it's just making things worse. So get rid of that time pressure, and also get rid of that pressure, which is most of the time, but not all of the time, self-inflicted, where we look at where everybody else is in their horsemanship journey or in their horse journey, and we kind of look at them and we say, oh, they're already riding along the beach and I'm not, and I should be, and if they can do it, I should be able to do it, and I'm so silly, and this and that. Comparing yourself to others and where they're at in their journey isn't helpful to yours at all. It's not going to help you overcome fears, and in fact it's going to probably compound them a little bit more, and it's going to make them a little bit worse, because you've got that running voice in your head all the time that's basically compounding the issue instead of helping you talk it through and things like that. So getting rid of time pressures. Everything comes at its own pace, and if you have to ride in the round pen for 4 months in order to get yourself calm enough and confident enough to go outside into the arena, then that's fine. There's no need for you to go out of the round pen, and I'm sure the people around you can support you in that, and if they can't, then they can be quiet. Number 9 is just spending time with your horse. So conquering the fears in regards to what I mean by this is just letting it go, because I think that if we've got a particular thing that we're thinking about all the time, and you know, say it's the cantering or going to a competition or whatever it is, sometimes we can't help but think about that thing all the time. And so every time we're with our horse, it is marred or tainted by this underlying thought process all the time, where we're thinking, oh, you know, I'm just walking around and I should be cantering by now, or oh, I'm just walking around but or I'm too scared to put you on the float and travel you, so we can't go anywhere. And so slowly but surely your time with your horse slowly builds and begins to be a negative experience. And so what happens with that is, this is the moment where you start getting what I call closer to the couch. So when we're talking about conquering fears, and we're talking about fears surrounding horses or anything in our life, but I mean, I can't help you with those other things necessarily, although you could probably apply this list to a lot of things that we experience fears of in our life. But let's just center it around the horses for the purpose of Wednesday Night Live tonight. Spending time with your horse without thinking of without thinking of the fear, is going to start building it as a positive experience. Because what is likely happening, or what could be happening, is that every time you spend time with your horse, it's becoming a negative experience, because you've got this running thing, you've got this looming cloud over your head where, oh, you know, I should be able to go on a trail or canter or put you on a horse float, or we should be fine in the show pen, or whatever it is. And so it begins to make the horse experience a negative experience. So what your brain starts to do is it starts to get you closer to the couch by opening the front door and going, oh, it's a bit windy today, maybe we won't go to the horses, or we won't ride today. And then oh, it's a bit overcast today, or oh, I really should get my tax done, or I should do this, or I should do that. So what starts to happen without us even realizing it is we start to put in these little excuses all the time, and that stops us from going down to the yard and having a positive experience with our horse. And then slowly but surely it becomes easier to make the choice of staying closer to the couch, or whatever job that we've made up that we need to do. It becomes easier to make that choice and harder to go out to the horse. So before we know it, we've got this massive gap of excuses in between us and our horse, and we don't even know how we got there. It just becomes second nature for us to go, oh, not today, oh, not today, oh, not today. And then we start beating ourselves up and saying, oh, why do I even have the horse? I'm spending all this money and I'm taking care of it, but I never get to ride him and I never get to enjoy him. And so that compounds it as well, and we start to experience negativity surrounding our horses without even being anywhere near our horse. We start to sit on the couch and say, oh, I shouldn't have the horse and I should sell him and blah, 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 blah. So when that happens, we need to step back and understand that that's what's happening. And that's what's happened because what our brain and our body does is it tries to look after us, and it tries to take us away from negative experiences. So if we have created a negative experience of just being with our horse, then we start to make reasons and ways that we can not be near our horse, and then we start to make up ways to get rid of that whole negative thought process, which ends up in selling the horse, right? So if you just get rid of all that and let all that go, just spending time with your horse and making the time to go out and spend time with your horse every day, and take the pressure off. I don't have to ride him. Maybe I'm just going to catch him today and give him a brush. Maybe I'm going to catch him today and lead him around down the street or in the arena, or maybe I'll do some groundwork today. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just sit in the paddock with him and just hang out. I don't know, but just spending time with your horse really helps to start to overcome all those underlying things that are supporting the fear. So if you think about the fear as this big thing here, which it tends to get to be a massive thing. It's this big thing, but underneath it is this big pillar of negativity, negative experiences, excuses, beating myself up, negative self-talk. Why do I even have the horse? And sometimes we've got support in that pillar from loved ones and people close to us and coaches and clinicians and people that we talk to. Oh, why do you even have the horse? You know, we've spent $1,000 this month and you haven't even ridden it. Why do you even have the horse? You're not even taking it to the show. Why do you even have the horse when it upsets you so much? So you end up with this pillar that is really getting supported not only by you now and clad by you, but it's getting supported by all these external people all the time. So just spend time with the horse, ignore the fear, do whatever you can to just make the horse experience a positive experience. Number 10 is for when we are fearful but we're still riding the horse. So even if we're not riding the horse, actually, number 10 is giving the horse a job. So have a job when you're riding. So this is about having a set focus. And it's about having a set focus or a plan for you, and it's about having a set focus and a plan for the horse. Because what often happens is we get on the horse and we're riding around the arena or the paddock or wherever we are, and we start to have these little thoughts about being frightened or having a fear or whatever it is that we're, you know, what our fear is about. And what starts to happen when we don't have a focus or a job is we start to focus externally on perhaps things that could compound or make the fear come true. So I'm riding around in my arena and I've got a lack of confidence, but I've got on the horse that day, but I don't have a plan. So I'm riding around the arena and, oh, there's a duck. What if that flies up and scares my horse? I might come off. Oh, the guy next door is starting the ride on mower. I'm pretty sure that's going to scare my horse and now I might come off. And then it doesn't matter what your circumstance is. It could be in the show pen. It could be, you know, in the about trailer loading your horse or taking the horse in the trailer for a drive or something like that. If we don't have a plan, say we've got brave enough and we've loaded the horse and we've got him in the trailer and we think, oh, I'll just go for a short drive. Then we start to go, oh, what if someone comes out quickly and I've got a break? Or what if this happens? We start to compound our everything with what if this, what if this, what if this. Whereas if we've got a plan and we go out in the arena and we say, okay, I'm going to walk a 10-meter circle to the left, and then I'm going to come through the center, I'm going to do a 10-meter circle to the right, and then I'm going to stop and I'm going to back up 4 steps, and then I'm going to walk forward 3 steps, and then I'm going to trot 5 steps, and then I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to back up. Whatever it is, if you've got a mapped out little plan, and you can download, you know, a million patterns off the internet, cowboy dressage, traditional dressage, working equitation tests, reining patterns, it doesn't matter what it is, there's always patterns that you can download or things that you can do. On my YouTube channel, there's 20 or so ground exercises that you can do with your horse if we're talking about doing it on the ground. But just have a plan, whether it's a ridden plan, whether it's a trailer loading plan, whether it's a plan for going down the beach. You know, if you're worried about going to the beach or you're worried about going on the trail, have those things to support you around. You know, have a plan. I'm going to ride my horse, or I'm going to lead my horse for the first 100 meters of the trail, and then I'm going to ride him for 50 meters, and then I'm going to get off and lead him for another 50 meters, and then I'm going to get back on. It doesn't matter if you get on and off 50 times during that trail. What matters is that you're keeping you and your horse as safe as possible out on the trail and as confident as you can. And if that looks like getting on and off, that's fine. If that looks like putting your horse in the trailer and going for a 10-minute drive, that's fine. If that looks like getting on in the arena and riding a walk test from the Cowboy Dressage website, that's fine too. It doesn't matter what it is, it's about having a plan. Giving the horse a job, giving yourself a job. Having something to focus on to not let all those what if thoughts start to come in. And number 11, and it's the final one, so it's a bonus one. It's for those of you that do have confidence issues in regards to actually riding your horse, and perhaps you've got a horse. Actually, there's one more thing I need to talk about after this, so stick with me. It will apply if you've got a horse that is a, you know, quiet horse, and you know that he's going to be fine, and you've arrived at this place of a lack of confidence for whatever reason. Don't be afraid to just have a plan of going and sitting on your horse and then getting off him. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's only getting on and getting off the horse, because what is happening, again, you're getting closer and closer to the couch, and what happens is that when we get on the horse, or when we think about getting on the horse, our anxiety goes up. So if you just go down there and sit on the horse for 10 seconds and then you get back off, what that helps is your anxiety will go up, but then you're off and your anxiety will come back down. And for that day, you might only get on once, but then the next day you might get on and stay on for 20 seconds. And then the next day it might be 30 seconds, the next day it might be a minute, etc., etc. Don't be afraid to saddle up your horse and not get on at all. Don't be afraid to saddle up your horse and only sit on him for a really short period of time and then get off him again. The horse won't know any difference. The horse won't mind. It's all about just taking you to that window of tolerance where you feel okay and then getting back off the horse again. The last thing that I want to talk about is thinking about our fear and thinking about just double checking with ourselves. Is our fear actually keeping us safe? And that's a question that we could probably ask ourselves way up in the top number one there. When we talk about, is it real? The question that we need to ask ourselves, if you write down, I'm frightened because I've had a fall off this horse, and he is spooky, and he is an anxious horse, and he gets nervous when people ride away from him, and he generally won't stand still when I get on, and then when I get on he wants to jig, jog and pace, then your fear is completely justified, and you're probably wiser staying off the horse. So what you need to do in that situation, if you do have a troubled horse, or you do have a horse that is nervous or anxious or anything like that, you need to consider getting professional help in terms of for the horse. So you need to go to a clinic, or get an instructor or a coach or someone who's going to come out and help you actually work with the horse's issues and the horse's behavior or mental health or whatever it is. Make sure that you're not just trying to override a fear or conquer a fear that is actually perfectly justified. If you're I don't want to pick an age here, so if you're a person that is thinking about riding a 2-year-old horse for the first time, and you're thinking, I just need to conquer my fear, well, hang on, pump the brakes a minute. Maybe you're completely justified in not wanting to ride that 2-year-old horse or 3-year-old or unbroken horse or whatever it is. Maybe you need to consider if it's the right choice for you. Are you in a situation, have you done all the check boxes? Have you got, are you experienced and educated enough to be breaking in a horse on your own? Or maybe you need professional help. So again, every individual circumstance is different. So I really tried to generalize my list. Number 12 is definitely consider if your fear is actually keeping you safe, and then take the action you need to take to help you, help the horse, I guess, overcome their issues and confidence issues in order to make them confident and quiet and calm enough to make you not fearful of getting on. So maybe your fear is actually keeping you safe. So I hope that all of those tips helped you in regards to conquering your fears. If you've got specific things, feel free to send me a private message, because we actually do have a Monday Night Live on we've got a Monday Night Live on building confidence in the anxious rider. We've got a Monday Night Live on building confidence in the anxious horse. I think we've also got a confidence building, I think there's a third, there might be a worksheet or something like that. So if you've got a specific issue and you want to send me a private message and just drop me a line about that, I will definitely try and direct you to any other resources that we've got. We've got hundreds and hundreds of newsletters that we've sent out. We've got hundreds, probably not hundreds, but we've got nearly 100 Monday Night Live replays now. We've got information sheets. We've got all sorts of information that may help you in regards to conquering your fear. So don't be afraid to send me a private message. I am about to go away for 2 sets of events. So I've got a clinic in Bangalore tomorrow. So hi to the Bangalore girls if any of you are watching. I will see you all bright and early in the morning. And I'm headed up to Inverell for the Spring Fling Cowboy Dressage event, which is happening up there over the weekend, which is Saturday and Sunday, and I'll be around. I'm doing some shadow judging and some scribing to fulfill my requirements for my judging certification. So I won't probably be able to answer any messages over the next couple of 4 days, but when I'm back in the office on Monday, I will definitely endeavour to send you links or resources to help further with your conquering your fear. So I hope tonight's live helped you. I hope you're having a great week with your horses, and I look forward to hearing from you all soon. Good night.